Here's a clip from Tamron Hall show on MSNBC. My question is, when is enough enough? And when will the next shooting finally blow the lid off of this, and then we have some real attacks on police officers? Because people are saying that that is the only thing that's going to stop these murders by police officers, is if they truly do fear for their lives. And because of the fear that they have for their lives, show respect for the lives of black people.
Here to discuss the shootings in Tulsa and Charlotte, I'm joined now by the host and managing editor of News One Now, Roland Martin, to discuss also the impact that it could have on this presidential race. Roland, thanks for joining us. Just looking back, it was just July that the Alton Sterling shooting happened. The next day, July 6th, Rolando Castillo, two back-to-back shootings of black men, both unresolved. And here we are at the beginning of the fall. Two back-to-back shootings involving two black men.
Eric Garner case is still unresolved in terms of DOJ filing any civil rights charges. You also have other cases that have taken place, and this is part of the problem. Rakia Boyd, shot and killed by Dante Servant in Chicago. He was, in terms of fire, let go through technicality. But same thing, DOJ. This is the fundamental problem. The reason you have communities that are on edge, because there's a belief that there is no justice. Marilyn Mosby got criticized in Baltimore because she charged the officers. What folks don't want to acknowledge is that by her charging the officers, that actually calmed the community down, because the community across the country feels as if officers are getting away with murder. And then it becomes, well, they didn't commit a criminal act, it was a violation of police procedures. But somebody's dead.
And so here we are waking up again to images in Charlotte of people acting out that anger, protesting. And I go back to, again, Alton Sterling, Rolando Castillo, July 5th, July 6th, those cases have not been resolved. And it goes back to the feeling of there's never a conclusion. We're on to the next story. Yes, Dallas happened, and the officers who lost their lives right after that, but we're on to the next thing.
But if there is a conclusion, 99% of the time it's no charges. I mean, not even a trial. In the case, at least with Jonathan Ferrell, in that particular case, the first grand jury came back, no indictment, and then the DA recused himself, went to the AG, got an indictment, went to trial. Okay, then you, of course, had the case of last year in Oklahoma, Robert Bates, reserve officer. He says, I meant to pull out my taser. Sounds very similar. I pulled my gun out. He was actually convicted of manslaughter, sentenced to 40 years in prison, which is extremely rare.
Yeah, and in these cases, there are always people who try to make everything divided down the racial lines. I watched the Eric Garner protests here in New York. There were a mix of people, African-American, Latino, white. Not since then, in large numbers, have I seen equal outrage amongst races until we saw this video that happened in Tulsa. Even Donald Trump now is saying that the officer may have choked, when we know these cases happen, and a large majority, and I will say it, a large majority of white commentators will bring up the issue of compliance. If you just had put your hands up, this would not have happened, or this only happens when you don't listen. Now, Donald Trump is saying, shock, how many, or choked, how many will follow him and acknowledge that this is not race?
And that's one of the most fundamental problems, because the way the law is stacked, it is stacked greatly in favor of law enforcement. Remember Sandra Bland? The officer tells her, put the cigarette out. She says, I don't have to. I can smoke in my car. Ma'am, get out of the car. He knew the moment he gave a lawful command, the law was on his side, he could arrest her for saying no. And that's why we saw the video, he was in the car and he was going over the statute. That's part of the problem here. You have to also change the laws to impact, as well the communities are all angry and upset.
Okay, we know that Flint, for example, did not come up in the Republican debate, I think ever so briefly. Does this come up Monday with both of those candidates vying for the black vote? What do they be asked?
Lester Holt has to bring this up and ask them the question, what are you going to do to change this, as opposed to say, it's just sad, unfortunate.
All right, thank you very much, Roland Martin. Greatly appreciate it, Roland. And coming up, I'll talk
All right, the most important fact or statement made in that whole exchange between Roland Martin and Tamron Hall was communities believe that police are getting away with murder. It's not that communities believe that, the communities see that police get away with murder. I was beginning to compile a list of events this year that were illegal and performed by police. And to be honest with you, there were so many that I just stopped. But only in rare cases, are police actually charged and convicted of crimes. More than likely, what ends up happening is there is no criminal suit, and then a civil suit is filed, and there almost always is a settlement of a civil suit where money is exchanged. Well, hell, if money's exchanged, there's a settlement, there is an admission of a wrongdoing, because the state is not paying if they don't believe that they won't prevail in court, in a civil case. They have lawyers that are salaried, that are just sitting there on their hands waiting to get a case to go to trial. So if the state believes that they are on the winning side of something, they're not settling, okay? They're not settling. So when you see a case where the state is settled and is paying out money, they admit that there is wrongdoing there. But they never want to admit there was criminal wrongdoing. But the act itself of shooting a young girl in the leg, trying to kill her dog, that is a criminal act. The act of raping a 14-year-old girl, and the mother and the girl refuse to have an abortion. So it comes to light of day that this police officer came to a young girl's house, asked her mother if he could take the girl, and be a mentor to her. Now, what the hell the mother was thinking, I don't know. But anyway, the mother allowed it. And the next thing you know, this officer took this girl's virginity. She's pregnant, and now he's begging her to have an abortion so that he can save his job. And the young girl and the mother said no. I'm surprised that those two people didn't disappear, be honest with you. But it comes to light of day. He's charged and convicted and gets a minimal sentence. Girl still got the baby. Baby's got to be raised. I don't know if a civil suit has been filed in that case or not. But again, my whole point is money's exchanged because civil liability is established, but there's never criminal liability. But the act itself was a criminal act, and people are asked to go away and paid civilly for it. Anyway, it's just me rambling about the reason why communities are upset and the bullshit that we're being fed, regarding criminal matters, and patted on the head and a few bucks, sometimes a lot more than a few bucks, put in pockets and told to go away.